My pleasure to be here with Rabbi Aharon Ariel Lavi, who is a very prominent social entrepreneur, community development professional in Israel. And he's the founder of Garin Shuvah, an eco-mission driven community near the Gaza border, and the co-founder of the National Council of Intentional Communities, among many other projects. And he's the editor of this new book about economy and sustenance, Judaism, society, and economics. Our topic today is Shmittah. So first of all, thank you for taking the time to talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell us what Shmittah is.
Well, Shmittah is the sabbatical year. It comes every 7 years, and it marks several very, very important cycles of transition in Jewish life, in life in general. So it marks the agricultural cycle, when all farmers leave the land fallow for a year, so it can regenerate towards the next cycle of production. It marks the labor and financial cycles, when all loans are remitted at the end of the Shmittah year, and all the slaves are set free at the Jubilee year, which is the seventh Shmittah year, every 50 years. And it marks the national cycle with the mitzvah of Hakel, where right after the Shmittah, once every 7 years, everybody, including everybody, gather in Jerusalem to read the Torah together and to reaffirm our covenant as a people, to reaffirm our commitment to our national mission. So, and it's actually one of the most radical ideas in Judaism, a very challenging one, which we hope to see if it might be applied to life today.
So I could imagine someone saying this sounds interesting on a biblical, historical level, slaves and land, but how might this be relevant to us today?
Well, in order to do this, in order to answer this, we need to understand Shmittah a bit better. So, and the best way to do it would be using a metaphor. The best metaphor would be life itself. So we'll do it very quickly. But in the past, people used to think that what makes the difference between you as a living creature and the chair that you're sitting on is some sort of vital matter, some sort of magic powder that makes us come to life. But today we know it's not true. We know that the only difference is the way that we're organized. We're all made of the same building blocks, only the living creatures are organized in a different manner. However, we're not completely organized. We're constantly being driven by entropy and chaos and disorder. But we have those mechanisms and cycles of rejuvenation that maintain some sort of balance between chaos and order. And by the way, do you know how much time does it take the body to replace almost all of its cells? 7 years. Except for a few gray cells in your brain. Now, what I think, and I think that this is the essence of Shmittah, is that we need those cycles of rejuvenation and those cycles of reinventing ourselves, not only on the biological level. We need it on the emotional level, social level, communal level, national level. And that's what Shmittah does. It gives a communal heartbeat to society. It gives us the opportunity to rearrange ourselves. And in this sense, it can be more than relevant to our life today, which are becoming actually more and more chaotic and more crazy. And Rav Kook, who defined how Shmittah is being observed today by farmers in Israel, so he said that Shmittah does to the nation what Shabbat does for the individual. So going back to your question, when only a handful of us are farmers and we don't own any slaves, I mean, America has gotten over this, right? So,
Right.
So how can we do this?
Yeah.
So I'll give you one example.
Yeah.
For example, if you take the volatile job market. So people, the age of our parents, for the most part, they took a job at the age 21, 22, 25, and they are now retiring from roughly the same job that they took like 40 years ago. People your age and my age are expected, by recent studies that predict, we're expected to change anything between 9 to 18 different jobs by the time we retire. Because the economy is changing, technology is changing. Now that's great because that's lots of innovation and opportunities to invent ourselves. But it's also a huge burden to adapt yourself over and over again. Now Shmittah suggests that we take some sort of break periods to rearrange ourselves, rearrange our purpose, and just make a safe transition to the next phase. It's about transition in life in a thoughtful and responsible manner. And I think that would be a huge opportunity for us as individuals, communities, as a society. We can take each part of Shmittah and try to see how it can play out in modern economy.
Very nice. So, what are some things that have been done to put this into practice?
So, I believe, I can't prove it, but I believe that when the time for an idea has come, it simply pops up in people's minds independently. I don't know, it's mystical, perhaps it's sociological, I don't know. But that's exactly what happened with Shmittah. When a few years ago, towards the Shmittah of Tafshin Ayin Hey, that was 2014-15, after being neglected for millennia, all of a sudden Shmittah became the hottest topic among young Jewish organizations, like Chazon, like ROI, like in Israel, like everybody was talking about it. And many people came with all different kinds of creative ideas, and which is the beginning, which is started to play with this idea and see how it can be applied to our reality. So, for example, some people took a symbolic 2 weeks sabbatical. Other people decided to dedicate more time to learning or being with their families. There was a guy, an engineer, who works for Cisco in Jerusalem. And he decided to devote a certain chunk of his time on the Shmittah year to actually review all the technological innovations from the past 6 years and absorb them. And actually recap them. And the government in Israel decided they passed a law that certain types of loans will be forgiven in the Shmittah year for people who cannot pay them back. Now that's an amazing application of this. So, and by the way, Shmittah is still being observed to some extent in the academic world as is. The academic sabbatical comes from the Shmittah. That's the origin of it, and you have it all over the world. So it might be relevant to other parts of society.
So my last question for you is, you're leading intentional communities. Just tell us what that's about.
Well, intentional community, it's a community to grow people, but it has a purpose that everybody share. It has an nekudat limit, an inner spot that everybody rally around and direct themselves towards. And at least in Israel, it's done marvels to Israeli society. We have about 200 such communities in Israel, being groups of young people who go into existing cities that are either underprivileged or underserved or having all different kinds of difficulties. They go there, they blend into the local community and try to empower it from within. Through education, employment, social activism, culture, all different kinds of stuff to reinvigorate life. So in a way, it connects to Shmittah because it's the same idea of having some planned shocks into the system that bring it back to life.
Right. The ability to pause, reflect, absorb, adapt. I mean, you're right. Things are faster paced than they've ever been before. There's more change and more rapidly than ever before. And we don't have mechanisms to actually absorb it and to adapt and to listen externally, internally. It's a spiritual practice. It's an intellectual, emotional practice. It's a communal practice. And you're at the cutting edge of this, of really helping us think about this transformation. And Rav Kook would talk about tikkun atzmi, tikkun bayit, tikkun kahal, tikkun olam, repair of ourselves, repair of our homes, repair of our community, repair of the world. And to do all those things really requires a whole new set of tools.
When I started I grew up secular.
Yeah.
And when I got an email from a non-Jewish American friend, they told me that he's very envious of me for knowing Hebrew. Well, I'm Israeli, that's not all that tough. Because I can read all those books, like the Talmud and the Zohar, which I never read, of course, but his interest sparked mine. And I quickly saw that Judaism has a lot to say about society and economics and many issues that were of great interest to me. But the main thing I discovered is exactly what you said, that Judaism and Jewish thought has the ability to relate to all levels of life, from our innermost issues to our spouses, to our families, communities, national, international events, all this with the same set of concepts and ideas. So you take Shmittah, it's about personal transition cycles, it's also about family and community, it's also about macroeconomics. I mean, back then, agriculture was the most important economic thing. So it goes all the way up and down with the same set of concepts. The same goes for Shabbat and many other key Jewish ideas. And I think that this cohesiveness is something that it is about time to bring it back to the Jewish discourse and Jewish life.
Beautiful. As you know, we have a tension in Jewish theology around Yeridat Dorot, that the past was the most advanced, and also Or HaMashiach, that we are progressing.
Right.
And I think we might say that we are progressing in our understanding of complexity, but we're declining in our ability to embrace simplicity. And I think what you're doing is about enabling us to embrace simplicity in order that we can properly adapt to complexity in a sense. So, local friends, please join us on May 7th, 2018, to learn with Aharon Ariel Lavi on the topic about economy and sustenance, Judaism, society, and economics. And for friends who aren't local, we will get a podcast up from that talk, and make sure to check out this book here. Thank you so much.